Good evening and welcome to the Online Wine Tasting Club. We're on our way to northern Italy, and for the occasion, Jamie has decided to dress the part. He's got his beautiful shirt on, and I haven't for once.
I know it's very,
This is quite
very
disturbing.
strange, very strange. But no, very, very excited. I've been lucky enough. Last year, I got out to Veneto and got to the Vinitaly, and then a few weeks back, months back, I can't even. I've lost track of time.
I know.
We got to Piedmont, so we did a little bit of northern Italy. It's tough. We're going to do these large swathes of the world. Let's try and do northern Italy in 6 wines. Let's do South Africa in 6 wines. And I'm sure there's going to be people at home go, oh, but what about XYZ style? And what about XY? There are so many styles. You talk about Italy, 500 indigenous grapes that you're supposed to know.
Yeah.
Let alone the weird and wonderful things that they make. Oh, we make 3 of these. So what we're trying to do today is just kind of have some fun. Have some wine, try some things that you might have had, not had, but get involved. Let us know where you've been, what you like, what your styles are. But I think each of these wines tells a story of kind of where it's from, what it does, and regionally it shows that it's not all the same. I know we've definitely got a few people joining us for the first time today. So feel free to put all your notes in the chat. We've also got Slido, and there's Alex is probably going to pop it up. He's nicked the laptop over there now, so I can't see anything. I've got to look at I'm learning to look at the camera rather than look at him and look at the screen. There's Slido, so you can pop your tasting notes in. Go to towtc.co.uk/taste, or go to Slido, and you can scan the little QR code and get in there. So pop your tasting notes in. To be able to pop any tasting notes in, we probably need to be tasting something.
We should have some wine. I've got to be honest. Italy was a bit of a black spot for me when I was learning about wine. It scared me. It's all the different grapes. It's quite petrifying because you can learn a lot of the key French regions pretty well, and you'll learn that Burgundy means Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and shut it, don't you dare say any exceptions to that rule.
I've got no alligator to talk about.
Then we get into things like Italy, and you're into the world of Soave is Garganega, and Prosecco is Glera, and Montepulciano is not Montepulciano.
Unless it's Montepulciano.
Exactly, unless it's Montepulciano. But so here, and we're kicking off in actually with one of my favourite styles of Italian wine, which is the Lugana. Now, I naively, back when I was a little boy,
thought it was a Lugana.
Thought that was the grape.
What, last week?
Last week,
no. So I think we've got a little map, so we can just kind of jam northern Italy up here. I know it's kind of chucking it in front of everybody. And Alex is in charge of all the comments and the questions today. So if I don't answer something, it's because he's not put it up. But I think we've got a little map just so we can kind of show the kind of breadth of Italy. We go all the way east, all the way west. And Italy, what's interesting about it is most winemaking countries, they have their little area here, then there's a big swathe of nothingness, and then there's another area here, and then there's another area here. Italy, all of Italy is registered into 20 different winemaking regions. There's not a spot on the Italian map that's not classed as a winemaking region. So it kind of splits down, and we can kind of see there from Piedmont in the east going all the way over to where am I going? I'm losing my map. I can't see my map. Veneto and Friuli in the west. So we go, when we go up in the north, we're getting up into the Alps. So we've got a really kind of like high elevation.
Yeah.
Then we come down, we have more kind of rolling hills. But a lot of northern Italian wine comes down to history and what's been growing there for centuries and the people behind it and stuff like that. Especially when we get into Trentino a little bit later, when we talk about, the German heritage there. Half the wines are written in German. But we'll probably get to that later on.
We will indeed.
But where are we? So we are Cat de Frati. And I absolutely love this one. And this was something that I hadn't drunk a lot of Lugana in my time. It's not, and I don't think it's something that people see. I think it's one of them people talk about these kind of cool Italian regions that they know. They talk about they've had an Orvieto or a Lugano or a Frascati or something like that. That's a little bit off the beaten path. They just don't want to say Pinot Grigio. But this is we're on the southern banks of Legarda.
Yep.
Absolutely, it's where old what's his name, Clooney's got a.
Oh, is it?
A house is what I heard.
Okay.
But I first got introduced to this particular wine. I did a little bit with it when I lived in the States. But it kind of disappeared off my radar. And it was when I was out in Veneto at Vinitaly, we sat down and tasted these guys' wine, and they were very kind enough to bring us a little bit of a risotto to go with it.
Oh,
So it was this with a risotto with that, that creaminess from the risotto, the acidity from it. It's absolutely beautiful.
I think it's that lovely combination of the really good ripe fruit, but yet that crisp acidity that just cuts through. It's so refreshing. It's lovely. And if we look at the tasting notes, you've got these quite ripe fruits, but definitely citrusy fruits like the grapefruit and apple and pear. Sorry, going into orchard fruits as well there, but grapefruit. That's fantastic, isn't it? You can't beat a bit of grapefruit for your.
And the thing with this, it's all done in stainless steel, but they then give it a few months in the bottle as well, just to get it to develop a little bit. When we say develop, we're not going tertiary flavour, we're not caramelly, we're not vanilla-y, we're not oaky, this kind of stuff. But it's got that little texture, that richness of mouthfeel. And this is made with a grape called Turbiana.
Yes.
It's not a Lugano from Lugano.
No, indeed. Yeah.
So, and this is a grape that's really only grown here, which, once again, going into Italian wines, this is what I love about Italian wines, is these certain things come from certain places. And, there was a big bit in all this, and we know about Super Tuscans now, where they kind of ripped a load of stuff out and planted Cabernet and Merlot and the Bordeaux variety. Do they make fantastic wines? Absolutely. But you can go to all these little corners of Italy and go, we only make this here.
Yeah.
We Aglianica de Velture, or, Greco di Tufo and, Negramaro when you go down south, and, all these cool little grapes in their own little places.
And they don't travel as well, which is the funny thing. Is that a lot of people try transporting these grapes into other regions, and it's very, very rare. I think we've had a couple of Australian wines made from Italian grape varieties that have done okay, but they've been very different. They've certainly been nothing like the original. And I've had quite a few Californian wines where people have, like Californians have gone to Italy, fallen in love with the place, tried to take it back and grow it in this great place for growing grapes. It doesn't work at all. It's got to be in its own country.
There's a. I'm not going to say it doesn't work at all, because that would be a misgiving. There's a family called Seghezia who make an absolutely fantastic Arnese, which is a Piedmont grape.
Yeah,
do that really well. And they also do a Primitivo, but obviously because it's in California, it's labeled Zinfandel. So there are the odd people, but I think it's not what you expect. But it's the same way that we go, okay, Sauvignon Blanc is French, yes, from the Loire Valley, and that's Sancerre. That doesn't taste like Marlborough. That doesn't taste like Chile. That doesn't taste like South Africa. And I think that's the thing. These grapes are the people, the heritage, the soil, the climate, the history, the winemaking techniques. And when these grapes go somewhere else, they don't have the same winemaking techniques, history, family, this. And I think a big part of Italian wines as well is when you're out there, you're always eating. You are always eating, aren't you? It's true. You do 7 courses for lunch, and lunch finishes about 4:30, and then you go out for dinner at 5 to another 86 courses. We did nothing but eat or drink when we were there, did we? Really,
much,
it was.
Yeah.
It was hard work.
Yes,
very hard work.
It was. So, Lake Garda, obviously big rich people's villas, beautiful towns, lots of spas going up into the Alps. I think what was quite surprising was this the bottle.
That's the bottle.
Oh, it's a bit heavy. There's
weighty.
A lot of glass there. That's not very good for the environment. So it's much better to get it in an aluminium pouch, I would suggest. But very pretty indeed. What surprised me was the sudden cutoff as you got out of the hills. It all got very flat very quickly, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It was like and I'll talk from, we're kind of like mid-Italy, weren't we? We're down near Modena, and then we drove up to Piedmont, and it was my word. I'm glad Alex was driving, because it was like the most boring drive of my life.
Straight Roman roads going in the same direction for God knows how long.
There's a ramshackled shed.
Yeah.
There's a ramshackled shed.
There's a factory making cheese. There's a factory making slightly different kind of cheese.
Yeah. It wasn't.
It was really boring. I was
but then suddenly we got
it's
like,
the beauty of it.
why have we got? Then suddenly you get that, and it just builds in front of you. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, Lake Garda is beautiful, beautiful wine, beautiful places, and I just think this is delicious. I think there was a note about it felt a little bit creamy, and that's where you have that little bit of bottle age. It's not from barrel, it's not vanilla, it's that just textural, that weightiness on the palate, and I think it's absolutely beautiful.
And I think Finn's point there, that combination of the tropical fruits and also sapidity, which is this kind of, this how would I translate that?
That kind of like
Almost saltiness, kind of.
that salinity, that savoury textural feel.
It keeps it being a good, serious food wine as well as just being.
It is. It's almost like a step above minerality.
Yeah,
It is like the wine's been seasoned almost.
Yeah, but not in that same way that you sometimes get with the wines from islands where the sea spray has splashed onto it. This is nowhere near the sea. This is not near saltwater. This is just south of Lake Garda and in some quite gentle foothills. But really lovely wine. I swear, I always if I see a Lugana, I will always go seek it out because.
I think what's interesting about this is one of these regions that, and people can dive in and correct me if you're wrong, you don't really get a bad Lugana because there's so few of them, and the people who make it have most of the vineyards do it really, really well.
And even the supermarket ones are pretty good. I didn't say that. You didn't hear me though say that, did you? They've got a style. They've got a style, and they do really. And there's lots of wines out there. You take something like a Soave from Veneto. There's some really good ones and some really bad ones. But I think Lugana, you've got a pretty safe bet if you go in grab a bottle. So quite right.
How are the tasting notes looking?
Apparently, people are having this with empanadas and other Argentinian foods, which is absolutely typical for the region of northern Italy. So
Absolutely. When I go to Lugana, if I go to Lugana and I don't get
chimichurri
I don't get an empanada, you haven't been to Lugana.
Just disappointing, isn't it? But yes, that balance.
And then get over to Piedmont and have some pasties. Yeah? However you have your stuffed meat pastry.
Quite right. Yeah. We're back to the discussion of PDOs again, are we? Cornish pasties.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
But what can you say? That's a pretty good start to the evening, as far as I'm concerned. How are you guys enjoying it? Is Lugana going to be on your list of wines that you might check out again in the future? Let us know in the chat. Also, do let us know what snacks you're having with it that aren't empanadas. If there's anything Italian, you definitely get bonus points for that. White truffles, for example.
Out of season.
Out of season. Tragic.
Not good for anybody. Perfect. So, tasting notes.
Tasting notes. Well, yep. So there's obviously we've got our citrusy fruits. We've got some more tropical fruits like passion fruits and going in there. We've got tasting notes like butter, honey, and cream, which are all coming through that slight sort of age that's on that, and the extended time in the bottle. I think it's spot on. It's lovely.
I love this one. I love this wine.
Could go on for a good few more years, couldn't it, as well?
It's versatile. I quite happily drink this, and it's fancy. It's got the embossed bottle, so you know it's going to be good.
Fantastic.
Right, where are we going? Where do we want to go next?
Well, I think apparently we're going back to Argentina for 5 kilograms of steak at Kathy's house, which doesn't sound too awful. You've got to have a bit of chimichurri, like you said.
A gallon.
Classic for Northern Italy. Sam has some cheese and crackers, always a classic combination there.
But what cheese? What cheese? What cheese is the question?
What kind of cheese? It's not going to be cheese strings, is it?
Oh, no, because my kids have eaten all the cheese strings on the planet. There are none left, I don't think. But a baby Bella Lugana, happy days.
So we are now going to a grape, which actually, do you know what? It's one of those ones that I've seen it quite a few times in England, and I've often seen it getting ripped up.
And ripped apart.
Yeah, I have a wonderful video of of a tractor doing what's called grubbing up, which is where you've decided you don't like those vines anymore. You want a different kind of grape, and you pull the old one out the ground, and you strap great. You strap a big chain around your vine. Well, this is one way of doing it, and you literally have to pull it out by its roots. And I find it quite sad that this little bit of our history was going, but obviously it has a history in Europe from somewhere with umlauts.
Absolutely. Hence the umlaut on the Müller-Thurgau. So we're in Alto Adige, so we're kind of central, northish. So you can go all the way up into the Dolomite Mountains are that part of the world, and that goes from valley floor to very, very, very steep. So this region grows lots and lots of different grapes, everything from Pinot Noir, Pinot Nero, depending what you want to call it in the area. Lagavulin does very well here. You get some of the Alsatian varieties. You see Pinot Gris. You see a little bit of Riesling, and you see this Müller Thurgau.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the stuff when it came over to England was because, we're talking, 15, 20 years ago, maybe a little bit more, that it was one of these Germanic varietals that people knew would ripen and you would get some kind
Because it was
of
designed
crop.
to go up in the Alps, where it's a bit colder. So,
It's not its no grape is really its own grape, is it? But this is a cross of Riesling and the other grape, wild grape that escapes my name, Madame something.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to look
can you find that out for me? But this was crossed, so in Switzerland by Dr. Hermann Müller, I think 1882. The cross was made,
1882.
And he was in the town of Thurgau in Switzerland. Riesling and Silvaner.
I didn't know that.
Maybe I saw something that had a different name for Silvaner because Silvaner's got about 86 synonyms.
It does.
So it started in Switzerland and then is very famous in Germany, and you're seeing it in these cooler regions in Italy. A lot of people, use it as a blending grape. It can just get chucked into bits and pieces. But by itself, I think it's got this beautiful floralness, this lovely richness. And so this is the Muri Gris winery. And what are we looking?
They do have cheese strings. Your children haven't eaten them all, so there we go. But we've got cheddar, German smoked cheese, and red Leicester.
There we are. Cheese strings for the win, always. So this winery is called Muri Gris because the family started in Muri in Switzerland, and then they came to Gris in Sudetro in Alta Adige. And so this is a winery and monastery.
As you do.
That's
incredibly floral. That's almost, it's like kind of bubblegummy. It sort of reminds me slightly of that kind of Turkish delight character you get from, something like a Gewürz, which again actually isn't from a million miles away because that's from Tramina, which is another one of the towns up there in the sort of the Italian/Austrian Alps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Tramina, which is your Gewürztraminer.
Hubba Bubba, exactly.
Is up there.
What an incredible smell!
But beautiful, the floralness on this, and I think this is a great when it's done. You can get a lot of flat meh mullers. Yeah, there's a lot of some that just there. But yeah, banana, great for it. It's got this salinity. The tasting notes here goes.
This is cool.
Enjoy well with snacks and finger food. That sounds like a cheese string if ever I heard one. So but this with kind of seafood, this with some oysters, I think would be good. Like a shrimp ceviche would be nice because that kind of like that citrus and that richness. But I think this just showcases a grape that sometimes is overcropped, over yielded, and can be just a bit flabby. Can showcase some really cool characteristics. And I think what's interesting about that, the tasting note that I can see that I can't read, is just how many words there are on there.
Yep.
Which shows that level of complexity, and as long as they're positive words.
Green apple, white blossom, peach, lemon peel. Fascinating. Jasmine, obviously, right there. It's a very interesting wine. I love the fact also that it shouts very proud. I'm going to make this picture bigger, but it's very hard to see, but it shouts Südtirol or not. So it is very proud of its Tyrolean heritage. And this is a part of the world where you can go across the border and literally nothing changes. They're still speaking German. They've still got the same food. I when we were over in this neck of the woods last year, we decided we'd take our children over the border into Italy so they could have a pizza for lunch. We went over to the other side and it was still schnitzel and wurst. There was no change. It was all exactly the same.
Was it the worst pizza experience of their life?
It was a bit of the worst pizza. Yeah.
Sorry.
Me. You can say what you will about how kind English children are, but German children will always be kinder. I mean, kinder. I'm going to shut up. I
didn't realise it was a comedy night at the wine club. My apologies for him. He's got the computer in front of him. So yeah, I just it's got cool history. It's a grape that's that was a blend to be able to survive, because Riesling's a tough thing to ripen. It's weird that people go, "Oh, Riesling grows in these cold places," but it's because they get so much sunshine that they're able to ripen because they get the sun come down and then reflections off the water of the rivers that allows it. So if you haven't got that kind of like that enough light for the photosynthesis, it's very, very hard to grow Riesling. So if you go into northern Italy where it can be a little bit more overcast, a little bit more grey, you know, a little bit less sunshine hours, you need something. So they have this Riesling Silvaner cross that, you know, this Muller that allows them to make a great aromatic.
But it's something quite different to either of those individual grapes, isn't it? That's what's so
it's kind of got the lightness of a Riesling. It's got the kind of that floralishness, almost like a Gewürztraminer. It's got a little bit of weightiness, like a Pinot Gris. It's a cool grape, but it's its own thing, and I think that's great.
And a lovely part of the world as well. A very lovely part of the world. Interesting. I was not expecting that at all. So how.
We got any thoughts, any questions, any notes?
Yeah, any thoughts, any questions, pop them into the chat. We've got Pablo, who's joining us for the very first time tonight. Very good welcome to you, Pablo. Soft and easy to drink. I think that's a very good description. You know, it's funny though, because I think these slightly more floral wines, they've come a bit, they went a bit out of fashion. They've come a bit more into fashion now. And we're all a bit more open towards a Viognier now than we used to be. And
I think we went through a little bit of a funk where people wanted to be seen as wine connoisseurs.
Yeah.
And to be a wine connoisseur, you needed to like dry, and it had to be dry and crisp and dry and crisp and crisper and dry and dry. And this is why things like Muscadet did very well, and Pipot does very well, and Sancerre did very well, because they were those kind of linear, crisp, mineral-driven wines. And I think sometimes kind of the wine vocabulary can be tough. And people say things like floral and honeydew melon and stuff like that. And people are expecting this to be a sweet wine and go, I don't want a sweet wine. And it is that differentiation between a wine being fruity or floral and a wine being sweet. A wine being sweet is a fact, whether there is sugar or no sugar, or the amount of sugar is whether it's sweet. Floral is a flavor. Sweet, you know, kind of those sweet flavors. When you say, you know, this tastes like a watermelon, because your mind thinks watermelon, you go, well, a watermelon is sweet, so therefore that should be sweet, but it's not. It's just a flavor, because we're not taking honey and pouring it into the wine to give it that flavor. It's strange. Wine is the one thing that we discuss with other flavor. We never go, oh, that tastes like Müller-Thurgau. We go, oh no, that tastes like, you know, jasmine, salt, this. No, we don't pick up a burger and go, that tastes like chicken badger. That we say it tastes like a burger. It's weird, isn't it? We don't. There's nothing else that we just use other foods to describe what they taste like, apart from wine.
Very infrequently.
That tastes like wine.
Yeah. Jamie has spent a lot of time in Lake Garda. Well, someone's got to do it, I guess. But yes, Lugana, cracking wine, and this is a really good example that we had from wine number one. Kathy has moved away from Argentina. We've got a bit more Italian now, a bit of a risotto back to as you were having when you were out there. Chicken and asparagus. Asparagus is always difficult to pair, isn't it?
Asparagus is a tough one. You know, and it's not Italy. My kind of go-to with asparagus. Grüne is a helpful one because you've got that kind of waxiness.
Bacchus is what I go for.
But something like the Lugano, I think, you know, we're tracking back. This might be a bit kind of floral for asparagus, but hey, it's all about what you like and what you enjoy, and that's what's important. Sorry, did someone ask? What about the badger?
Poor badger.
Well, who, me?
Yeah, he's in the burger.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If he doesn't do his job, he's got to do something. Anyway, that's not badgering around.
It is indeed.
So what's next?
Müller-Thurgau. That's a surprise. That is a surprise. Perhaps we should not be grubbing it up. Perhaps we should give it another try, because that's a really, really interesting wine.
Yeah, I think if it's, you know, used as a proper grape and not just used to get, you know, a mass amount of yield to make, you know, as much wine as you can with it, if it's looked after, I think it can do very, very well.
True. That's a good question. Not sure if my hoisin duck was the right pairing. Now, is there a right and wrong pairing ever? If you enjoy the wine, you enjoy the food, then it's fine. But he's going to comment now.
No. Okay, yes, I am.
Go on, comment. Poke the bear.
Poke the badger. So, if you enjoy what you're drinking and you enjoy what you're eating, that's fine. You know, it's not always about trying to find this perfect match made in heaven, eureka moment with wine tastings. It's really not. It doesn't need to be that. But obviously, Hoisin is quite rich and quite sweet and quite potent in flavours.
Yeah.
And these wines are relatively light and delicate. So if you were having a load of Hoisin and a load of this, bite after bite and just going backwards and forwards, the Hoisin would probably overpower the wine.
Okay.
But if you have a little sip of have a little bite of your Duck and Hoisin, you have a little sip of your Müller Thurgau, that acidity will cleanse the palate first thing. Don't go straight back to the Duck. Then have another couple of sips of the Müller Thurgau. Enjoy that. Then go back to your Duck. It's not going to be perfect together in every mouthful, but you can drink your wine and enjoy that for a few minutes. Then go back to your Duck, enjoy that for a few minutes, and just backwards and forwards. Doesn't need to be perfect. If you're drinking great wine, good food with good people, you're onto a winner, whatever you're doing.
That's a good point. I like that. That's a bit of context there. So I'm going to move the tasting notes on. I think let's just have one last little look at these things, see what else has popped up. We've got white blossom. It's all sticking around these kind of tastes that we had. So that's good to see. We've come to a conclusion on that. So that's nice. I'm going to move it on to wine number 3. Now, Ribolla Gialla.
With a touch of Chardonnay.
Plus Chardonnay.
So we are going up to Friuli, which is north and east on our map, if you want to have a little peruse at that.
Will this be Friuli Scrumptious?
That just doesn't work, does it? That just doesn't work.
Not a Mary Poppins fan. We could be down in the south, in which case it would be truly scrumptious, which is those little stone buildings with the conical roofs on them. He's going to take my wine away now. That's not fair. Give me the wine.
Okay, so wow. So this is Livio Faluga, and this is another winery. They just make good wine. They just make good wine. They do a lot of indigenous stuff. They do a bit of international stuff as well. But Livio emigrated from Styria in the 1950s and came over, found this, and he just found the region and thought this was just perfect for grape growing, for these fresh styles, for this lovely, lovely kind of crisp, clean, good drinking wine. And one was really one of the first people to champion screw caps, the Stelvin closure. And Italy, like a lot of and I'm making a big generalization here, but like a lot of Europe was really focused that quality wine had to have a cork in it.
Yeah.
Needed to have a cork in it because that was quality wine, and screw cap was for bulk people who were making bulk cheap wine that was just meant to be drunk and done. And he really went after this Stelvin closure because wanted to keep the oxygen away from the wine. He didn't want this development of the wine. He didn't, he's like, when the wine's ready, the wine is ready. Open it, drink it, enjoy it. And I think you see this in all of his wines, even with Chardonnay in here, which adds a little bit of richness. It's got this beautiful freshness, this beautiful elegance. And I just think it's fantastic wine. And it's a pretty bottle as well. That's what really matters.
I think he's absolutely spot on with his comments about the screw caps. It's quite funny. We've been, I've been on Twitter again. You'll be surprised to hear. But we've been debating... What are you doing?
My microphone's fallen off.
Oh, no, that's not what you do at all.
I'm back now.
He's back. So we've been debating on Twitter the relative benefits of different kind of closures, because there's a few people who we're friends with who are studying for their Master of Wine exam and are investigating into alternative formats, cans and pouches and bag-in-box and all of these kind of things. And so I've been kind of digging in and helping out because obviously we've got a bit of a perspective on this. What's really fascinating is that corks can be absolutely brilliant. They can have this figure for this oxygen barrier that's as low as, let's say, 0.2, whatever the units are. I'll say it's 0.2. However, if you get a bad one from the same batch, it can be as high as 500 of those units of how much oxygen you're allowing. That is, maybe 20 times more than a bag and box lets in, or a screw caps are far less than that. So it's funny. You can pick a cork that's deliberately a bit looser for a wine that's got a lot of tannin. You want to have a bit of aging potential. It's got to let some in to let the wine age and smooth out, and it needs that oxygen. For a white wine like this, you don't want that. So if you've got a naturally variable product that can go between, 1,000 times difference in its performance, you don't go for a cork. It's the wrong choice. This is a far, far better. And you get a lot of those Burgundies, which were suffering from early oxidation, Premox, they would call it for your sort of white Burgundies. And I think a lot of that's down to the fact this stubbornness of only using natural closures like corks.
I think it's weird, my sommelier background, there's a time and a place, and, screw caps do a good job. There's nothing quite like opening a bottle with the cork, the presentation, the whole thing. The theatre that comes with cork is great, and you don't get that with a screw cap. That doesn't really do it.
Oh, that smells different to how it tastes, doesn't it?
So what's interesting with it? So once again, stainless steel.
Yeah.
But then once fermentation is finished, time on the lees before bottling.
Yep.
So this is where you're getting that textural thing again without using oak, and I think that's something not for today because we go for hours. And these winemaking decisions, that could they have got this texture much quicker, much easier by chucking it in an oak barrel for 3 months? Of course they could.
Yeah.
But that difference between a wine that's sat in oak versus a wine that's had some lees aging versus a wine that's gone through mallow, they can all add similar feelings to it. But they're not always. But they are subtly different. So you can go, oh, I don't like oaky. Well, this wine hasn't seen any oak, but it has that richness that might make you think it's had a little bit of oak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you could be fooled. You could be very easily fooled by that.
And also a little touch of residual sugar. So it's about 4.5 grams of sugar, and that's, I think, gives that weightiness without, once again, not sweet, because you've got to get to about 7 or 8 grams before you can perceive sweetness on the palate. But it gives that weightiness to it, that heaviness.
So there are some fascinating taste notes coming in. The grass was the one that did leap out at me. It almost reminds me of this bison grass vodka you can have. But how interesting. But normally you find the fruit flavors are enhanced when you've got that little bit of sweetness in the wine. This is leading with some quite interesting sort of yeasty.
It's almost like
bready flavors to it.
Oh, I nearly did it. I nearly did a whimsical tasting note, and I'm going to stop.
God.
I'm going to stop myself.
Yeah, you stopped yourself.
I was going to say something about walking through a meadow. But
on a summer's day.
That is the epitome of everything that a tasting note shouldn't be. It's like wandering through a meadow on a spring's day as the farmers just cut the grass before planting for the new season. True. Factual, but what a useless tasting note.
Wait, what are typical tasting notes for a Ribolla Gialla? Because, do you know what? I'm of a similar sort of position. It's not the sort of one. I know it's quite a floral grape that you often get, but
absolutely. So the Ribolla Gialla is floral, this kind of like dry petal, the jasmine. It's, for want of something that you might have had, because obviously the Chardonnay gives it a bit of weightiness, but if you almost took Gewürztraminer light, okay, so if you take a Gewürz, but then Gewürztraminer has that power and that weightiness, if you take the textural side away from Gewürz and just have the aromatics and that flavor, if you took, that's kind of where I feel Ribolla kind of sits. It's got this almost like potpourri-ish kind of feel. Yeah.
And it's not.
Sorry,
it's not. No, that's fine.
I sounded so. Is it? Somebody agree with me here. But yeah, very floral, very bright. It's got great acidity to it.
And it's not related to Ribolla from Greece.
No, it is not.
Which was originally thought that it was the case, but
because one came from the other, and then they transported it and thought it was, but now it's not.
Yeah, there are similarities in the flavor profile, but actually genetically there's nothing in common with it at all, other than it's Vitis vinifera, which is the same kind of family of grapes. Finn's got some good notes of this one, like apples and pears, up the old apples and pears, good with king prawns in garlic butter. It's only got the richness to match the butter, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering when Finn's going to come and host live with us and just cook. He can just cook over in the corner and shout tasting notes at us. I think that'd be a great idea, Finn. So whenever you want to come and hang out with us, you can cook and shout the tasting notes. I think that'd be a wonderful idea.
I I like Janie's comment here about her favourite whites being dry, but with that kind of fruit and floral depth to it, that just adds that. The Lagana certainly is that. I think this. I mean, I don't know. I'd be very interested to hear what you think of wine number 3, but I think this has got that sort of same kind of depth of character to it.
I think it's the thing these 3 wines have had in common across the board is they've all had this wonderful balance. They've all had great fruit.
Yep.
They've all had great acidity. They've all had texture. They've all had minerality.
They've all preserved the subtlety.
They've all
the
been vastly different.
Yeah,
but they've all been really well made wines that I think would keep most people happy. Yeah. It's not
quite classily made wines.
There's no outliers. It's not, oh, this is far too floral.
Yeah.
This is far too sweet. This is far too crisp.
Yeah.
They're all just really good, well made, carefully considered, good drinking wines.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
And also from, interesting grapes, which, get overlooked.
So whereabouts are we again with this one? We're Venezia. So Venezia Giulia.
Friuli.
Right
so
up there
top
right corner. Sort of bordering on to, some countries that also make very similar good styles of wine as well. But, it's nice. It's a part of the world that I've not spent enough time in.
Italy's a very interesting country for wine because
there's many different countries sandwiched together, isn't it?
That's the thing. You go, what's how is northern Italy compared to southern Italy? It's different grapes, different climate, different people, different style, different history, different.
Yeah, you look at the difference in just economics. So northern Italy is richer than, but as rich as France and Germany, and southern Italy is
less so,
a lot less so. And enormous levels of youth unemployment and very more traditional, sort of less scientific things.
Friuli's probably got more in common in wine making techniques with, and being in this northern area, more in wine with Slovenia than it does with Piedmont.
True. Yeah.
It's Alto Adige probably has more in common with Austria or Alsace than it does with the Veneto. It's really interesting.
So a lot of variety so far in 3 white wines, which again, not necessarily what I would have associated. I tend to think all about this part of the world as big reds, and
I also think it's Italy with their whites have done very, very, very well on the commercial side of things, on commercial wines. Prosecco, that's the bubbles for everybody.
Yep.
Pinot Grigio,
that's Northern Italy.
Yeah, and those kind of things, people go, oh, what's an Italian white? Pinot Grigio. And
on an industrial scale,
there is Pinot Grigio, Soave.
Yep.
Those kind of things we think of when we think of northern Italy as the things that you see in the supermarkets, the thing that you see on sale, those kind of stuff. And there are phenomenal Pinot Grigios, there are phenomenal Soaves when you search them out. But when we just have this kind of cookie cutter, what do you think of northern Italy? White wine isn't always very high on people's agenda for what could be interesting and what could be great and what could be cool. And it's nice to be able to,
examples.
It's nice to showcase these things.
Absolutely. So, I think perhaps the industrialization of northern Italy was one of the big surprises to me. It's a part of the world where people do it, and then they start doing it at scale, and then they start expanding that, and then suddenly Soave.
I need to pay more attention. Map.
There's a map.
The label is.
Oh, there you go.
The label is a map of all the towns.
Hang on, that says Shiraz. Oh no, Shariz.
Shariz.
Different.
It's a registered trademark.
Happy days.
There we are. Anyway, we are digressing into maps and trademarks. What are we having next? More wine.
Some wine. I think we should move on. I'm going to move the tasting notes on. So, let's have just one last little look at those tasting notes.
You do that.
Oh, we can.
Well, you look at it, seeing you're so far away over
there. Ooh, that's not what that's meant to do. Honey, apple, grass, jackfruit, sweet apples on a stick, a badger, passion fruit.
It wouldn't be a tasting notes without a badger, would it?
Gardens, herbs, vanilla, minerality. That's a cool
once again. So many words, so much
Many
complexity.
words, yeah. Indeed.
Many words make great tasting notes. That's what I say.
Just got back from a road trip from Trieste to Milan, and all these three of these whites are new. That's what you want to know, isn't it? That's fantastic.
That's
Excellent.
phenomenal.
Thank you, Matt. I hope you tried some good ones as well. If you found anything that you think we should check out, shout to us. Tell us what we're missing. There's a lot of wines in Italy. So we're on to the reds now.
Yes. Well done. Sorry, is that your introduction?
That's my introduction.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for keeping the show rolling while I'm opening the
I try my
wines.
best. I try my best. I'm managing the chat, mate. You know,
Managing to chat. Right.
just about.
So red wine. So this is, you know, we're Venice, and this is just a classic little IGT Veneto
Rosso Veneto, which I think means red
of
from Veneto.
Exactly.
There you go. I'm good
Look
at
at that. If you need a
Fluent in
translator,
Italian.
yes. So what we've got in Italy is we've got our kind of our Vandemessers. We then got our IGTs, which
Mhm.
is our typical of the region. Then we go into smaller regions where we have our DOCs, which is a little bit more controlled and must be particular grape varietals and that kind of stuff. Then we have our DOCGs at the top end, which are even stricter. So you've kind of got this pyramid as you go up. That doesn't necessarily mean the quality is better. Why are you doing a countdown
I
timer?
wasn't trying to. I was trying to get rid of the overlay, but that's fine.
You should click the overlay again
Yeah,
instead of the
that'd be
countdown
the
timer. My word, this wine will self-destruct in
Oh,
28
shush it.
seconds. Because you know we had in Tuscany the rules to be like a Chianti, you've got to be a certain amount of Sangiovese, then you've got Chianti DOC, Chianti Classico Reserva, which is about alcohol percentage and stuff like that. And there's some people that don't really like that idea. I want to grow Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, so they did, and they weren't allowed to do it. So they just we'll call it table wine. So it was just IGT, and Sassicaia was an IGT for the longest time until Bulgari became a DOC, and they called it table wine. It's some of the most expensive table wine on the planet. But
this has got a real aromatic lift, a sort of like menthol-like character to it. Which
absolutely. So this is a joint project between Mirko Sella and Enrico Marchetto.
Is that why it's called Duo?
You know all the answers.
I know all the answers, don't I?
The
It's even got two people on the label, which is
like
quite
a
clever.
duo of them.
A duo. It's a classic Passamento, isn't it?
So there's the yes and there's the no. Obviously, there's always the yes and there's no. So
Helpful.
this is made in Passamento style, but usually a Passamento is what we associate with Valpolicella and Amarone. And those grapes are governed by the DOC and DOCG law. So you've got to be Rodinello, Molinara, Corvina, Corvinone. This one has Cabernet Franc in it, which is a little bit
that's
different.
where you get that menthol lift from.
So you've got a 50-50 blend of Corvina and Cabernet Franc in this. And this is done in the Passamento style. So it's kind of like an homage to Amarone. And for those who know Amarone, it's a wine from the Veneto region, Valpolicella. It's the kind of the top end, and they have to dry. And this Passamento thing is the drying of grapes. So they take the grapes and they put them on these basically long wooden shelves and put them in racks. I don't know if you ever gone to IKEA and you know where you go and put your tray back when you're finished. Yeah, it's like a massive version of that covered in grapes in these warehouses. And they dry these grapes out, and it's really kind of cool. We went to one just to kind of look, and it's like this massive barn, and then they've got the windows, and they've got these cranks on the windows because they've got to keep. They don't want it to get humid because the grapes will rot, but they need to keep it warm so the grapes dry. So they have to manage the airflow by opening and closing the windows on like an hour by hour basis. So when it cools down at night, they close the windows up, and then they open it to move the air through. So when you go to an Amarone level, these grapes have to be dried for 100 days.
They're like raisins by the time they're...
And the more you dry it, the less water left, and therefore the more grapes, and the more grapes it takes to make a bottle of wine. Therefore, more expensive. And then we've got, so this is, these are dried, I think, for about 30 days to, really start that flavour. And this is why you get this raisiny, plummy, datey kind of flavour in here. And it's, as you said, the Cabernet Franc is what gives it this lovely mentholy, almost like eucalyptus-y kind of flavour.
Well, someone else is agreeing with my menthol. That's nice to see.
I saw you type it in yourself.
Green bell pepper is the other sort of classic kind of characteristics of your Cab Franc there. But it's got this delicious, ripe, cherry-like flavour to it, which
and it can help you almost get these. It can almost help you get these tertiary flavours without the level of aging you'd need to get these tertiary flavours. And I think this wine is absolutely delicious. It's decadent, it's fruity, it's rich.
I like drinkable. The fact that we are getting into those characteristics like leather and black olives.
2019
only 2019, yeah.
But also,
go on for a bit.
Also, the other thing I'd say you have to be, I don't even know what, careful is the word. When you do this Pastamiento style, obviously you're increasing the sugar, and with increased sugar, you have an increased risk of high alcohol. So this feels quite light. I think this feels quite light for the style, but this is still 14.5%.
It's what she says, well integrated still. And to integrate, to balance against higher alcohol levels, you want to have higher levels of fruit and higher levels of tannin. That delivers it in abundance, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think this is a lovely, lovely wine.
And crowd-pleasing style, mocha, coffee, cherry. Is it as complex as an Amarone? Of course not. Absolutely not.
But when you look at the price of this and you look at the price of Amarone, you pay for complexity. We'll talk a little bit more because we've got a Valpolicella at the end. But you've got something like this. Then you go to a Valpolicella. Then you go to a Valpolicella Superior. Then a Valpolicella Ripasso. And then Amarone. So you've got some steps to go up the ladder, which kind of means you can kind of go, hey, if I like this style and it's Tuesday night, happy days. And then I save my Amarone for Wednesdays or whatever.
So does it have any residual sugar? I don't have the data sheet in front of me, but let me do my wine tasting trick, which is to pinch your nose and stick your tongue in to the wine, just to be clear. A bit.
I think there's a touch. So I think there's a touch. It's not bone dry,
quite up there,
but it's not apothic.
No, it's not
I would say, if I had to hazard a guess, 7-8 grams.
Feels about right, yeah. So it's got some, which is the yeast will have probably started to die out at 14.5% alcohol. As the alcohol increases, it stops the yeast fermenting it, and so it will preserve a natural level of a little bit of sweetness in it, if there was that sweetness there to begin with. And of course, that's one of the things that drying out the grapes does. It gives you that little bit more. Now, often data sheets don't like to talk about residual sugar.
No, you can always get alcohol. Like here, I've got acidity. Oh, this one's got, they do. They're quite good. But if you're really desperate, pop us an email and we'll find out. I can give the producer a call.
I would say you're probably bang on the mark at about sort of 7-8 grams of RS though. You just detect it on the tip of your tongue, and what you do by closing your nose off, by pinching your nose, you stop the fruit sensation dominating, and that's what obviously misleads you into thinking there can be sweetness there. Yeah. But it feels still.
That's the thing. If you're not smelling anything and you just let the wine touch the tip of your tongue, if it just tastes of cold and wet and nothing, there's no sugar. If you actually taste something, there's sugar, because that's where the tip of your tongue is what picks up sweetness on your palate.
So chocolate nice and cherry with smooth tannins. It's a Black Forest Gatto.
I'll tell you this. Bloody good tasting notes.
Great tasting notes. Raisins and prunes to show that more concentrated style from the dried fruits, leather and chocolates, and from the aging and smoke from the smoke from the barrels, earthiness from the age, a menthol from the Cabernet Franc. You guys are doing great here.
And when I first saw this wine, and I tasted this a couple of months ago at one of the London tastings, and I was a bit skeptical when I was mentioned, "Do you want to taste this?" I'm like, Cabernet Franc, and I'm like,
what's that?
Of all the wines that you've got to do there, here's what it is, I suppose. But no, the Veneto, the region makes some really, really good wines. But wouldn't say there's a lot of mid-range wines. There's a lot of very kind of cheap, mass-produced
Yeah.
wines, and then some very carefully made wines.
I think you'll probably find the mid-range ones over there.
yeah,
They don't
but
make it over here.
It's
We
well,
either-
they
it's
don't.
either
Well,
cheap
to be
or
fair, they
good.
don't make it over here. No, they definitely don't make.
No,
they
they don't-
make it over
they
there.
don't-
and oh, you mean
know
they don't?
what I mean.
No, I don't.
Can't get the stuff.
You can't. But yeah, I was really impressed with this wine and kind of the range, the price point it comes in at. I think it's a really good drop of juice, and we can
So
see that at the end.
What would you eat with a super rich, fruity, jammy kind of wine like this? Because
Ragu.
ragu. See, I'm more on the kind of like the Chianti kind of things for a ragu, but
Okay, fine.
I don't know. I think this would go quite nicely with a bit of game, like a bit of venison would work quite nicely because of
Too
that
dear.
sort of. Flipping heck. Oh dear. Let's see what Janie has to say. Glad we said Cabernet Franc. Thought got the minty flavour. Yeah, absolutely. Well balanced. Hides the alcohol. Perfect.
Yeah, this I don't know, maybe something like veal chop.
Yeah. That's quite nice. Did you have one of those when you were over in?
I did.
Northern Italy. Yeah.
I did with tartufo.
Con
There we go.
tartufo. Mm. Right, I'm going to park that one because I think we should
Move on from the
swiftly
duo
on
to
duo to tre.
okay, right.
No. Oak.
Oak. So we are in Piedmont.
Yeah,
We are in Barbera.
we are. Don't mention any videos.
No,
It's still uploading. It's
That's
tried.
all good.
It's tried 4 times now, but
that's all
we
good.
tried one last time. It still says it's uploading.
So when we travelled to this wonderful, wonderful part of the world, we got the pleasure of getting to Villaguerra. Really, really cool place. Really, really cool place.
It's lovely.
And just absolutely beautiful. And the joys of technology. Alex is gonna are you gonna show pictures instead of video?
I'm trying to. I'm
Okay.
trying to.
All right. So Alex, with his one job, decided he'd upload the video, but it's playing silly buggers. But what we'll do is we'll get the video up on our website so everyone can see it. It's just lots of pretty pictures of what's going on. But what was absolutely amazing? So we drove up from Modena, got into Piedmont. We were staying in Alba. So about a 15-20 minute drive into Barolo, into Barbera, depending which way you went out from the our little Airbnb in the city. And we went over this one and driving around these little country roads, no one else on them. It was absolutely empty. Alex thought a Maserati was the way to go. So he's bolting it round. I'm, holding on for dear life for my
what you're talking about.
to get through with this Maserati. But we end up at this, almost kind of like middle of nowhere. It's like, have we gone the right? There's these 2 big metal gate, Villaguerra, and we go in and like the parking is like this. Right? And I'm like, if we get down this, are we ever going to be able to get back up again? No. But we get there, and the winemaker comes out to greet us, and yeah, you're here, do the, and it was just us. It was just us. So our lovely
his house.
our lovely friends at Marquetta Direct to import this wine, set us up with this visit, and it was just set for us to be there and hang out and hear his story.
And in the basement of his house were all of these ancient bottles of wines and big wooden barrels with Jamie sat next to them that are aging the wine. And it's still done in this historic cellar that's been where their family has made wine for generations now.
Well, we started there. It's like this is the oldest part of it, and this is 16th century. And as you moved to the left, you went from 16th century to 21st century. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah. And in their winery, they had quite a lot of quite modern equipment as well. I had a bit of a geek out with him over their cross-flow filtration system, which is pretty high tech as far as you might expect from a sort of an old centuries old family winery from Piedmont. But yeah, it is a spectacular place, and I really hope this video will work for us in a few minutes, because really was absolutely beautiful. And we you could look out and you could see these tiny little hills. On the top of each hill was a little church, and around this little church were a few buildings, and then around the bottom were vineyards. And each of these vineyards we could go and taste, and it had this different character to it.
And you could stand in the window and go, the wine you're tasting is from there, and the wine you're tasting is from there, and this wine is from there. And this particular one is called Crecia, which is oak, because there is a big oak tree in the middle of the vineyard. So this is Barbera d'Asti Superiore. So that's your level above Barbera d'Asti. And this is the first single vineyard project that he ever made. What we realized is our tasting notes with the video, while we were there hanging out with him, we were drinking his 2018, and then what was in the country when we got back is 2017. So we're a vintage out from what we tasted versus what's here. So we're going to talk about what we're here. So when the video comes up, just be aware the notes might be very slightly different, but you know, absolutely beautiful. And just the wines he makes, like he makes an Arnaise, which if you do both series, we've got the Arnaise on the Piedmont masterclass next week. Absolutely beautiful wine, but I think what really something is just he was just excited for us to be there, to share his stories, to go, you know, and I think the key thing we found from being in Piedmont is usually you've got kind of like best site, you go up and down, and there's a range of mountains, and you want to be on the south facing slope, and that's it. Like Piedmont was all these little almost like craters. And people are growing different grapes on the north-facing slope versus the south versus the east versus the west to try and make not a better wine or a worse wine, but the style of wine that they wanted to create. And I thought that was absolutely spectacular. That it's like, you know, we've planted this here because of this. You know, I might be getting a bit geeky and over the top for it, but we're having a long conversation about, you know, how the world is going with climate change and different plantings, and you know, people changing things around. And you know, we tasted you know, a grape that he's got like 1 acre of, that's an ancient grape that just doesn't get explored. It's like, put it down as a blind tasting. Well, he put it down and go, what do you think of this? And then he's like, this is what this is. And I'm like, oh yeah, the old classic, whatever it was. You could have taken a photo of the label and given it to people, and they wouldn't have known what it was, because it's just a grape that no one recognizes. It's absolutely epic.
Yeah, he was a lovely guy, and making wines very thoughtfully with a perfect bit of respect for history and also modern winemaking techniques. And this is the view from his garden, basically. And to wake up and get out to that's living the dream, isn't it?
Am I allowed to say this without getting in trouble?
Oh God,
probably. So my takeaway, because when you think Piedmont, you think Barolo. Yeah, you think Barolo and you think Nebbiolo, and that's going to be the one. Did we drink some really cool Nebbiolo?
We did. We did
absolutely
indeed.
did.
Yeah.
But I think the grape that enlightened me on that trip about, this is quality, it's good value for what you're drinking, and the range of styles was Barbera.
Was by far, and all of the wineries we went to, an absolute uniform message there. It was really surprising and wonderful, especially when you took the price into mind, because the Barolos and then Nebbiolos are edging up into
lots.
Slightly, lots indeed, a lot of money. So looking through these taste notes, obviously we've got the vanilla from the oak, generally speaking mostly larger format barrels, but a bit of a mixture. Chocolate, pepper, spice, again from that aging process, but rhubarb, blackberry, blackcurrant, cherry. It's almost got that concentration of fruit of the the Appassimento one we've just had. It's fascinating, but this is dry, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is bone dry, no sugar in this.
So this is the difference
power,
between fruit and power. and sweetness. This is a powerful fruity wine.
And also a
Wow.
couple of years more on it.
Smacks
So
your
it's
face.
2017 compared to 2019 of the duo. So you're going to have a little bit more of that tertiary naturally. What do we got here? Good concentrate.
Mix of red and black fruits, savory, earthy, so it matches with things like the porcini, which obviously the region's so famous for, and definitely Jamie wasn't punching his way through anything at all.
Sorry, Alex, are you just putting your holiday snaps up at the moment?
Holiday, this is
Yeah.
hard work. So also I could get this video that's refusing to upload. But yeah, that's a healthy dose of black truffles there. Truffle
Right,
shavings
we
on
were
top
lucky.
of
We
the-
were right at the end of the season, weren't we? Right at the end
we
of the
were
season.
right at the end of the season. But that's some cracking tasting notes.
But
there.
it was amazing to kind of drive through that. It's because it's hazelnuts up there as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you'd see it was like where it was flat, it was hazelnuts, and then when it was slopes, it was vines. And I don't know how to explain this. I was like the little kid, if you ever go to Disney World and like your kid screams, "Oh, it's Mickey Mouse! He's Goofy!" I was doing that,
like
driving
a small
around,
boy going around,
screaming,
It was,
widely
oh my
signs.
god, that's that producer! Oh my god, that's that producer! it was kind of hilarious, but yes, great.
I was very excited. Very excited.
Very
but
excited.
It was good to get out there. Good to get out there. So, what do we got on tasting notes? We got any thoughts? Any questions? Any?
Yeah. How do people compare these two reds? What's the favorite so far? Velvety tannins. I think the extraction's done beautifully. I think it's all been done with the right amount of integration. You can just tell there's some good quality winemaking going on. It's lovely. Rhubarb, I think, is a fascinating tasting note. I don't think I've had a rhubarb in tasting notes for a while, have we?
No. I suppose, yeah, poached. Yeah, it's got that kind of little sweetness, that little tang to it, hasn't it? That slight bitterness. I just like. I'd say this. Looking back at putting this tasting together, it's just silly, isn't it? It's just silly. Like, I almost don't think we can do wine of the night tonight because it doesn't make any sense to do it.
They're all so different. And, it's just which is your favorite
exactly
style. So
yes, this is my favorite Barbera d'Asti Superior that we've had so far tonight.
So, what makes it a Barbera d'Asti Superiore?
So it's a Barbera,
yes,
from Asti.
Thank you.
And it's better than Yao.
It's better than Yao.
And Superiore.
That's why we have such expertise on this tasting.
So when we get to Superiore, this is so you're then the DO here. So Superiore, it's got more rules and regulations about yields and kind of like alcohol percentage and stuff like that.
It's failed to upload it again.
Okay.
We'll upload it to YouTube after imminently. So yes.
So if you love this wine and you want to hear me and Alex attempting to taste it live in the vineyard, our live tasting,
complete with some drone shots as well. I'm a big fan of Barbera. This one's earthy and fruity, perfect blend.
I like that.
More. That's absolutely it.
Good.
I think we should move on to wine vino number 6. So this is a Soave that isn't a Soave. Because it's Valpolicella.
Well done.
So Pierre Pan, I think we have featured them before, but with
the Soave. Absolutely. So
known for.
So these guys,
Kings of Soave.
I would say Kings of Soave. Andrea Pierpran, absolutely fantastic guy. And when I was over in Verona, they welcomed us to the new winery, which is absolutely beautiful. So they're based in Soave, which is this walled town with a medieval castle in the middle of it.
This one.
It's almost like a planet. And can I say, look at my photograph skills.
I think your straightening of the horizon is beautiful there.
Oh, okay, it was straight after 18 glasses of wine. So you've got this, and if you look to the left of that castle and down, there's a big shiny factory at the bottom of the hill. And that factory makes 92% of all the Soave that comes out of Italy. Therefore, 92% of Soave is this mass-produced, ubiquitous stuff that people go, I like Soave because of that. And does it do a job? Is it cold, wet, white?
It's cold and
drink
wet
it?
and white.
Do it.
Yeah.
Done. So they're based there. They make a load of Soave, but they also make Valpolicella, which is the next. If you bring the picture back, he's run away from the picture.
Oh, I thought you wanted the map. Sorry.
I don't want the
okay,
map.
all right.
So if you look at the second valley in the back right of the picture, that's Valpolicella in the distance. So they've got some vineyards over there, and they bring the wine in and make it. They had to get special dispensation to be allowed to do that, because to make Valpolicella, you're meant to make Valpolicella in Valpolicella, but they got special dispensation for this.
In fact, it's the valley of many cellars, Valpolicella. So this is not one of them, because the cella is in Soave.
With
So
Suavecella.
Valpolicella Superiore. Grapes in this. Corvinone.
So we've got about 6%
Rondinella.
Corvina, 30% Corvinone, a bit of Rondinella, and a bit of Crotina, which is quite small production. You know, sometimes you see Molinara in there as well, but this doesn't have that in there. You're on clay and chalk soil, so you get good drainage, but holds enough water in the heat. And this is a Superiore, so it's about aging.
This is unfiltered as well.
Unfiltered.
Yep.
Lots of dark black fruit, and I love the Valpolicella, like the Valpolicella, the Appassimento style. I just like this. It's got nice richness. It's good drinkability. It's not, the tannins aren't grippy. It's not too green. There's nice fruit to it.
Gosh, that's lovely.
It's just good drinking wine. If you do get a chance to get to this winery, it's really cool. They spent a lot of money. It used to be in a shed, and now it's basically built into the side of a mountain that until you get in front of it, you can't see it. They've got a garden on the roof. They've got entrance and access tunnels through the side, so you can basically drive a lorry into it to pick things up. It goes back out through the mountain. It's just got everything that you would want a cool winery to be. Oh, look at that. He's putting some pictures up again. He's got my holiday snaps as well, worryingly. So I just, you look at Valpolicella, you've got Superiore. You then got Ripasso, which I mentioned earlier. And Ripasso, what they'll do is they'll take the skins that they've used to make Amarone and put Valpolicella juice through it. So you get that kind of, the benefit of the richness, the tertiary characteristics of these shriveled berries. And Ripasso always offers, I think, good value for money. If you see a Valpolicella at, let's take Supermarket, and you see it like 16, 17 quid, and then there's a Ripasso at 19, spend 2 quid. I think Ripasso is about the best value for money uplift for a word on the bottle. It's a better value uplift than going from Premier Cru to Grand Cru, from second growth to first growth.
What if you had the choice between a Valpolicella Ripasso supermarket brand and a Pierre Pan Valpolicella Superiore?
That's obviously Pierre Pan. I think a lot of it is knowing your producer, isn't it? A lot of it knowing your producer. You know your producer. You can probably come down a level because the quality is going to be better.
This is fascinating wine. So much going on. There's a kind of slightly I don't know. I don't want to say musty, but that one of those sort of almost like kind of Middle Eastern spices that's coming through to me that I can't quite place. So perhaps I should put up the tasting notes, and all of these people will have beautifully described what it is.
I know. No, I get exactly what you mean. Now you've said that,
frankincense or something like that. Something that
it's almost some incense has been burnt and you've inhaled it as you've gone past.
Yeah, how fascinating. I don't know what that would have come from. That's not on my list of standard aromas that I know.
WSET clusters.
WSET clusters, yeah.
But yeah, I think the closest thing to that is it's got that kind of smokiness about it, hasn't it?
Yeah. And figs, absolutely figs. Yeah, that's whoever put figs down is spot on. You could almost that fig jelly sort of thing that you can have with your cheese, with a bit of a crunch to it from the wasps. Probably from the seeds. But Rooibos, we got some. Do we have the Nez du Vin box? We do somewhere. Yes, we've got two of them actually. We have the Wine Faults Nez du Vin, which is a very specific one that tells you what a corked wine smells like, what an oxidized wine, what a vinegary wine smells like, so you can identify the fault and get that. And we've got the standard Nez du Vin, which tries to isolate it. My only complaint about the Nez du Vin things is that they are very artificial aromas that they give you. So their idea of a strawberry aroma is very much what a strawberry
lace.
It's not. It doesn't smell like a strawberry. It smells like an aroma of chemical strawberry that you put into ice cream or something. So yeah.
What else we got?
I think that figgy kind of thing is really dominant. I think the other one that stands out for me is the Rooibos, that sort of tea-like characteristic that you get from that as well. I think that's really
this aroma is upsetting me because I can't put my finger on it.
Interesting. 5 and 6 have been fantastic. I've really enjoyed all these wines. It's been a lovely tasting actually. Tastes slightly oxidized. So, I mean, you get a certain amount of that over time. The particularly when you're using barrels, as the oxygen goes into it. But
I think it's stylistically as it is. I think where it's unfiltered as well, you're going to get this little bit of funkiness to it. So yeah, I don't think it's oxidized as a false, maybe slightly reductive, but not.
Yeah, I'm not getting too much of that, but yeah, Earl Grey tea. There's definitely this tea-like kind of.
There is very that tea, bergamot-esque. That's what it's bergamot, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Fantastic.
Well, some great notes. I love it.
Should we nose wine in the night just for fun?
I think let's flip it on just for
fun, and then you can hide it away. You can hide it away.
I'll hide it away because there's no losers.
I don't think there's any losers. I think they're all winners tonight. But thoughts in the chat as to, is there anything that you've gone, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Wow, this is brand new to me.
Or alternatively, what have we missed? Are there any Northern Italy wines which you love
and should have been in the six? If you had to pick the big six,
that somehow we could chew on into the price point, which God knows how we did this one, but I think I know. But yes, so let's have a quick look over. Oh, this is working out. What? Oh God,
that makes no sense.
That makes no sense at all. What's going on? What is going on? I mean, okay. How funny.
Okay, people have picked their favourites. I want people to put in the chat what they think the overall favourite's going to be.
Yeah.
Because
tap into the chat what you think the winner's going to be.
Not what yours is, but what you think the winner should be. Oh, it's changing again.
All over the place. Wow, what the heck? Still lots of people doing it. I'm going to look away because this is just upsetting me. But
I wouldn't say upsetting, but it wouldn't have been my picks.
Enjoyed every wine tonight. Love Italian wines. We should include a scanned picture to the order website. So actually, what we're going to do this time, and we did it for those of you who were on the English tasting, because we're slightly. We've been a bit stung by this in the past, getting in 12 bottles of everything or 24 bottles of everything spare, so that people can go and order them if they want them, and end up suddenly we have an awful lot of bottles of Kidderiotico from Lesbos or something.
Who doesn't need that though?
So what we're going to do is we're going to send around just a Google form where you could say, actually, I'd like some of this, and then we'll order it up and get it in and get it sent out to you. So you don't go to the website and go,
there's
it's
only
out
one
of stock. There's only one bottle of it. Just let us know what you want. And also, we'll pop down the thing, just say, if there's anything else you'd like us to pop in there, just let us know.
If there's a wine you've had before on the tasting, if there's something that you want us to get in, and also if there's special order, we don't do sparklings on the show, but if you're in need of some English sparklings from one of the wineries that we've used, someone like Balfour or Simpsons or something like that, we can always get those wines in. And if you're stuck for a bottle of Cristal or a bottle of Dom Perignon, give us a shout. We can always get those things in for you. We want to be your friendly neighborhood wine people that you come and join us. And
Right. Oh, the By the Wine. Oh, Jamie. How about this one? Does that one work? Northern Italy, yes.
the one that
should
says
work.
Northern Italy, yeah.
Well, that
I
one
put
says
in.
By the Wines.
Oh.
That one. Are we at London Wine Fair next week?
Well, funny you should mention that. Yeah, well, the answer is yes. I'm going to be there definitely on Tuesday because we are up for an award for Supply Chain Initiative of the Year. So we're in the final three for that.
Get their products
helping
tried.
people get their wines in front of people. So we're excited for that. So I'm going to be there on Tuesday. So if anyone's at London Wine Fair and wants to come and say hi, give me a shout.
Yeah.
Pop me an email, find me on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you want to find me and give me a shout. We'll meet up, have a glass of wine or six. But outside of that, we're just there. We're working very hard on trying to get an online wine tasting club live for you all, so we can all get together and do it in place. First one will probably be in London. It's just working logistics and pricing and restaurants. Think about. Okay, so the wine, it's
Okay.
whatever.
So, wait, wine of the night, narrowest of margins. Oh dear God, that's ridiculous. When we last looked at it,
it was the
Lugano.
It was the Valpolicella. It's the Valpolicella. It was a Lugano until 6 seconds ago.
And now it's the Valpolicella. It's all switched around. And the wine that was in last place is now somehow tied third. And I have no idea.
So they were all great.
They're all
wines.
great.
That's what we got.
Excellent. That's good. That is
that.
what we
So
want
does
to
anyone
see.
have any final thoughts? Any final things that they need from us? But otherwise, next month, because it's not on the website yet,
We're going to
Discover Series is going to be France, and Adventure Series is going to be the Loire Valley.
Indeed.
So that's coming up. But also, if you've enjoyed tonight and you're not on our Adventure Series and you fancy it, we've still got some packs left. We've got the Arnace from Ghiada who are there, a couple of wines from, Vira, who we went to visit. Is very much about our Italian road trip.
Was just
So,
wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Proper legends of the wine scene in Piemonte. They're this kind of, I think, someone's described them as the most modern of the traditionalists and the most traditional of the modernists at the same time. And I love that balance.
They're just damn good.
They're just damn good.
But anyway, it's been a
thank
fantastic
you so
evening.
much.
Thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you again very soon. Tell your friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Good night.